CashShuffle is something I've worked on for over a year. Jonald had brought it to my attention when it was just an idea, and we started talking about how we could make it a reality. And it's been a pretty difficult journey to get it where it is today. When it first started, our dream was just to provide better fungibility for everyday users. And that means, you go and you want to buy something on Purse, you want to go and buy a cup of coffee, you want to go and get your lunch. There's no reason you should be giving up your financial history just so that you can go and buy yourself a sandwich. That's just ridiculous. And even if you're doing large sums, I would argue that that's even worse, right? So if you're doing a lot of work with exchanges, you're sending extremely large sums of money around, you really don't want everybody along the way to be able to understand what those transactions were. And you don't care if the exchange does, because you're KYC'd with them. You've already let them know what your identity is. So it's not about making sure everything's completely anonymous. There's always going to be some level of verification with certain services that you are who you say you are, and that's okay. But privacy is really important for those everyday transactions or normal financial transactions where nobody wants to tell everybody what their funds are. And it's not that they're trying to keep what they're purchasing a secret. It's that they just don't want that chain of transactions to be revealed to every merchant that they do business with, because that's just like a pretty bad invasion of privacy.
How does CashShuffle that you've been working on relate to the paper? And how does that relate to CoinJoin and who invented all of these things?
Okay, absolutely. So CoinJoin's been around for a while. Bitcoin Talk mailing list just talked about CoinJoin for a while. Greg Maxwell talked about it. Many of the core developers talked about it. It was like all the rage of things that we should do, and then nobody really built one CoinShuffle, like CoinJoin solutions that were practically easy to use for an average user. And most of the solutions we've seen today were just wildly complex, right? Like you go and you see all these options and you aren't sure exactly what should happen. It doesn't happen automatically for you. And so it was too difficult, and it really never got a lot of traction. Although there's a few wallets that do certain CoinJoin style things today. Now, just as a quick definition for CoinJoin for people that don't know, it's basically aggregating a bunch of inputs and outputs and joining a bunch of transactions that don't have to do with each other together into one transaction so that it's less obvious where the money moved.
And using crypto magic so that the people do not have to know each other, and everyone but yourself can be an attacker, and you cannot lose any funds.
Yes. Exactly. And so the CoinShuffle paper was an extension of CoinJoin that was a practical application of CoinJoin that basically guaranteed that when you were matching with other people, that nobody could associate the inputs that you put into the CoinJoin and the outputs that go out of the CoinJoin. And the idea is that if a bunch of the outputs are the same value, so say that you put in five people jump in and everybody puts in 1 Bitcoin, right? Like just a basic example, and everybody gets out 1 Bitcoin. Well, you don't know which Bitcoin went to who. And there's no way for you to really track who now owns that new UTXO, and everybody has the same amount of value, and it can be done in a way that is trustless. Now, what the CoinShuffle paper didn't do is provide a matching service. So it basically said, well, you can use this algorithm and you could do it technically with IRC, or you could do it with a forum, or you could do it in all of these places. But honestly, that's just too hard. So nobody fucking did it.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, well, you're going to have me like do one step and post it to this other place and then wait for other people to do it and do all these manual steps. It just wasn't practical. So what CashShuffle did is it said, well, can we make a matching service that's easy to use, that is automated, where we can make sure that the wallet can do this 100% by itself and make the decisions about what to shuffle, when to shuffle it, and that way the end user is able to just like check a box and say, I want better privacy. And it's not necessarily as good as, Zcash shielded transactions or Monero transactions, but that wasn't the intent. The intent is to provide good privacy tools for the average user and the everyday user that is transacting in the markets today.
So we've been talking about electron cash and custodial services like SideShift.
Mm-hmm.
What about wallets on the phone? Because CashShuffle is an interactive process, which basically means you gotta have the app open.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
That's difficult, but there are ways for you to launch background services on a phone. Like, for instance, anyone that uses a VPN service on their phone. It launches as a background service and operates just fine in the background because it registers as a background service. Mm-hmm. So there are ways for us to make sure that your wallet can shuffle in the background, but you also want to make sure that you're not like constantly eating up network or constantly eating up CPU, because then there's battery life concerns. Mm-hmm. But there are ways that we can get it to shuffle in the background. There are also other proposals that people have put forth. We have a roadmap that will be going on the site soon. But for instance, you could think of it as you have a desktop wallet at home, and you fill that with a bunch of funds, and you give it an XPub to your mobile phone wallet. Now, when it's done shuffling your coins, it automatically is sending all those shuffled outputs to your phone. And if there's a way for the mobile phone to get an external XPub and only derive change addresses from that XPub, then when you go to spend that shuffled coin, your change will go to your desktop wallet that is shuffling in the background, and the process will repeat. And you actually aren't doing any shuffling on your phone. You're just shuffling to your desktop and then having the desktop send you clean UTXOs to your mobile wallet. And you have a way to do full shuffling operations without any of the shuffling happening within the mobile wallet. There's currently an integration effort with the Bitcoin.com wallet as well as Badger Wallet. Badger Wallet being in the browser is beautiful for CashShuffle because people love to keep their browsers open. So I don't have the same problem with something like Badger that I do with some mobile tech. But we're trying to address these issues for the Bitcoin.com wallet, make sure that the experience there is really good. And we're really incentivized to help as much as we can because they have a very large installed user base. And that provides a lot of additional potential shufflers and higher liquidity for the shuffling services so that we can bump up the pool sizes and provide better privacy tools moving forward as more people adopt the technology. A CoinJoin transaction is not money laundering. So a CoinJoin transaction is like everybody putting money on a table and then everybody grabbing how much they put on the table and not caring what bills they grabbed. Yeah. That's not money laundering. Money laundering is like actually hiding the movement of funds, which is not what CoinJoin does. So anybody that describes this as a laundering tool is just not being genuine or accurate as to what's actually occurring. And the level of privacy that we guarantee, while great for end users, is not something that is robust enough for someone that's trying to get away with, massive fraud, which I don't support. So I think that it's, just a bad argument for people that are arguing against CashShuffle to say that, oh, you're doing all this stuff. And it's like, no, actually, we're not really laundering. We're not providing a privacy tool that's good enough for those use cases, but we are providing a privacy tool that's good enough for you to make sure that, you have some level of privacy on top of this pseudo-anonymous, completely not private ledger.
In terms of what's next for CashShuffle, where do you think things are going in the immediate future and a little more long-term too?
So immediate future is we've been writing a lot of spec documentation and trying to put together libraries for other developers to use. JavaScript was obviously the first target there, and we're in alpha on that library right now. It's definitely not done, but it is functional and it does work. But it definitely could use a little bit more love. So if there's any other JS devs that like CashShuffle that want to help us with that effort, that'd be great. But it is in workable form for people to start those integrations as we mature that library. I do have intention to start working on a Go version of that library as well, mainly because I work in Go and the stuff I'm doing with BCHD and Neutrino is all in Go. So providing a high quality shuffling experience for the yet unreleased Neutrino wallet that Chris is working on is something that I want to do, but I don't have a timetable for. But it's really about all of these technologies working together. I have this vision, right? What your phone shouldn't care, your wallet shouldn't care about API servers or RPC servers. It should be able to connect to nodes all over the network. And that's what makes it censorship resistant, because if someone goes to a RPC server vendor and they're like, yeah, we need you to turn off your service, all those wallets are bricked. Now they can import their seed phrase somewhere else, but it's extremely inconvenient and it sucks and it's preventable. And then we want to make sure that your wallet isn't leaking the addresses that you care about, so that when you are doing activities over the network, you're not leaking that data. Then you want to make sure that there's Tor support. So when you submit a transaction, they don't know who's submitting that transaction, and you get privacy on sending transactions as well. Now, if you combine all that technology with something like CashShuffle, you really have a pretty solid privacy suite for everyday spenders. So all of a sudden, I'm not leaking my addresses, I'm shuffling UTXOs regularly, I'm able to spend, and I have a full stack of solutions that work synergistically with each other to preserve privacy. And that's where the world I want to get to.
What's the best way to keep up with ZQuestZ?
Honestly, I'm really active on Telegram. I'm active on Twitter. Twitter's a bit of a cesspool, to be honest. I'm kind of sick of just the amount of just bad conversation that happens there, but I'm somewhat addicted. So you can always find me there. And if you know people in the community, they can generally find me. I'm also really active on GitHub. Definitely follow my GitHub. You'll be able to see what I'm working on at any given time, just based on my commit history, whether that's like Docker images for full nodes, or some of the stuff that I'm doing for BCHD, or there's a bunch of stuff there. I usually just like kind of a extra man. I like to do lots of little things. So it's like I'll pick up a project and it's like, oh, you need a website. Let's get the website done. Oh, you need this or that. And I bounce around a lot, and I encourage people that have interesting ideas or interesting projects to reach out to me, because I'm always looking for, the next thing.